Good evening, you're watching this Mongolian World. I'm your host, Tanur Kambatar. And for top stories, Mongolian President state visit to China starts. The WHO named a UNESCO Artist for Peace. An opening of Zuunbayan-Khangi railway to boost Mongolian exports and economy. And for the news, stay tuned. On Sunday, President of Mongolia Zuunbayan-Khangi landed in Beijing to begin his two-day state visit. Upon his arrival in Beijing, the president was welcomed by Vice Minister of Foreign Affairs of China, Sun Weidong, and Ambassador Extraordinary and Plenipotentiary of Mongolia to China, Batral. Today, President Zuunbayan-Khangi is holding official talks with his Chinese counterpart Xi Jinping. The meetings are also scheduled with the country's Premier Li Keqiang and Chairman of the Standing Committee of the National People's Congress, Li Jianshu. On November 25th, Director General of UNESCO Audrey Azoulay named the Mongolian heavy metal band The WHO a UNESCO Artist for Peace. We have a report from the ceremony at UNESCO headquarters. Hello, The WHO is greeting you all from France.
Audrey Azoulay met the 8 members of The WHO during her official visit to Mongolia in August 2022. Their musical style and ideas immediately resonated with the UNESCO's values and work.
Grand plaisir.
We are delighted that such famous rock band known for its fusion of traditional Mongolian music and heavy metal has become a UNESCO artist. On behalf of UNESCO, we're really looking forward to cooperating with The WHO in promoting cultural diversity and multilateralism. Founded in Ulaanbaatar in 2016, The WHO has created a unique musical genre they call Hunu rock, with thousands of fans worldwide. The band fuses rock and heavy metal with traditional Mongolian music, such as the art of homi, throat singing, the tsur flute, and the moronghor, horsehead fiddle, all of which have been inscribed in the UNESCO's representative list of the intangible cultural heritage of humanity.
We perform our traditional music inherited from our ancestors, and we work to promote our traditional heritage for the next generation. I think our main vision and UNESCO's goals perfectly match. That's why I think we are given this honor to represent UNESCO. Over the last couple of years, The WHO performed over 300 concerts in Asia, Europe, and South and North America. We gained a lot of fans, and we had the opportunity to promote our traditional music and the Hunu rock genre in many countries. I think it's a huge honor for us to be named a UNESCO Artist for Peace. Around the world, The WHO promotes the traditional Mongolian culture, music, and language inherited by our people for thousands of years. We are willing to become goodwill ambassadors for UNESCO and promote multilateral cultural cooperation.
The WHO and UNESCO will cooperate over the next 2 years. This is a big honor and also major responsibility for The WHO to unite young people of the world through music and culture. When naming The WHO an Artist for Peace on Friday, the Director General recognized the group's role in promoting and sharing its heritage. The band has pledged to act as spokesperson for UNESCO's programs, participating in events, and relaying the organization's messages.
The Zuunbayan-Khangi railway, which crosses 226.9 kilometers in southeastern Mongolia, provides a vital connection between the Tauntalho-Zuunbayan railway and the Khangi border crossing the Mongolian and Chinese border.
With the new railway connection, the distance for transporting freight across this important economic corridor is nearly halved, which will significantly boost trade in minerals such as iron ore. Construction of the Zuunbayan-Khangi railway began in March 2022, and the completion of the project is expected to result in a 30% increase in Mongolia's export freight volume. Annual freight volume is expected to stabilize at around twice the current level of 10.4 million tons by 2025, significantly boosting state budget revenue and local employment.
The new Zuunbayan-Khangi railway was built in just 8 months through a public-private partnership investment model and is Mongolia's new gateway for competitively transporting mining export products to the global marketplace. Today's opening marks a major milestone in the government of Mongolia's new revival policy, which is focused on strengthening the country's economy following the pandemic and making Mongolia a leading Asian country by 2050. This is the third-level freight railroad built for carrying heavy transport. The railroad will be controlled by the alarm and dispatch control systems widely used in Chinese heavy industry.
Without immediate ocean transport access, Mongolia relies on 42 dry land border points for trade, but in March of this year, only 3 were connected to railroads.
We own transport Tauntalgo coal and Bolt-Yuru iron ore for export through this railroad. The railroad will also connect at Tutami Old Port. Some export and imports can also be processed through Hang Port, which will decrease the workload at Tutami Old Port. The Tauntalgo-Gashunsugat Railroad opened last September, but some connection work needs to be done. This railroad also needs some connection work to be completed. Right now we see some heavy trucks transporting goods by road.
The completion of this project delivers the second new railway crossing in the southern part of the country. The new revival policy includes gradually connecting all border points by road, railway, and highways. 180 companies and over 3,500 workers participated in the railway's construction.
Now let's take a look at other Mongolian affairs.
The annual 16 Days of Activism Against Gender-Based Violence launched on November 25th, the International Day for the Elimination of Violence Against Women. The campaign concludes on December 10th, International Human Rights Day. The civil society-led campaign is supported by the United Nations through the Secretary-General's Unite by 2030, the End Violence Against Women initiative. This year, the UN marks the 16 days under the theme Unite Activism to End Violence Against Women and Girls. UN system organizations, the Swiss Agency for Development and Cooperation, Save the Children, the US Embassy, the Australian Embassy, and other non-governmental organizations in Mongolia will be joining the campaign.
Thank you for staying with us. Now let's take a look at the currency exchange rates provided by Mongol Bank. Here's the international news from our partner agencies. Amid intensified Russian bombardments, a harsh winter, and no electricity, water, or heating, the Ukrainian government, along with various volunteer organizations, evacuated some elderly from the southern city of Kherson on Sunday.
Russian forces struck eastern and southern Ukraine early Sunday as utility crews scrambled to restore power, water, and heating with the onset of snow and frigid temperatures, while civilians continue to leave the southern city of Kherson because of the devastation wreaked by recent attacks and their fears of more ahead. With persistent snowfall blanketing the capital Kiev on Sunday, analysts predicted that cold winter weather bringing with it frozen terrain and grueling fighting conditions could have an increasing impact on the conflict that has raged since Russian forces invaded Ukraine more than 9 months ago. Both sides were already bogged down by heavy rain and muddy battlefield conditions, experts said. After a blistering series of Russian strikes on infrastructure that started last month, workers were fanning out in around-the-clock deployments to restore key basic services, as many Ukrainians were forced to cope with only a few hours of electricity per day, if any. The state power grid informed that the electricity producers are now supplying about 80% of demand compared to 75% the previous day. The deprivations have revived wordplay between Ukraine's president and Kyiv's mayor. Mayor Vitaly Klitschko on Sunday defended himself against allegations leveled by President Zelensky that too many Kyiv residents were still without power and that insufficient centers had been set up for them to stock up on food, water, battery power, and other essentials. Klitschko wrote on Telegram that hundreds of such centers are in operation, as well as hundreds of emergency generators. The president and the mayor have sporadically sparred since Zelensky took office in 2019. Zelensky has accused Klitschko and officials around him of corruption, while Klitschko contends the president's office has put him under political pressure. The Institute for the Study of War, a think tank that has been closely monitoring developments in Ukraine, said reporting from both sides indicated that heavy rain and mud have had an impact, along with wider freezing expected along the front lines in the coming days. ISW said Russian forces were digging in further east of the city of Kherson, from which Ukrainian forces expelled them more than 2 weeks ago, and continued routine artillery fire across the Dnieper River. The top UN officials in Ukraine said civilians, many of whom lamented unlivable conditions and feared more strikes to come, continued to pour out of Kherson on Sunday.
Protests against China's strict zero-COVID policies resurfaced in Shanghai on Sunday, continuing a round of demonstrations that have spread across the country since a deadly apartment fire in northwestern led to questions over such rigid antivirus measures.
Since Friday, people have held protests across China where street demonstrations are extremely rare, but anger and frustration have flared over the deaths from the fire in an apartment building in Urumqi that the public believes was caused by excessive lockdown measures that delayed rescue. In the dark, early hours of Sunday, standing on the road named after the city in Xinjiang, where at least 10 people had just died in the apartment fire, protesters chanted, "Xi Jinping step down, CCP step down." Hundreds of protesters had gathered along a street in Shanghai starting around midnight on Saturday. They split into two different sections of Middle Urumqi Road. There was one group that was more calm and brought candles, flowers, and signs honoring those who died in the apartment fire. The other said a protester who declined to be named out of fear of arrest was more active, shouting slogans and singing the national anthem. Online videos from the scenes quickly emerged. Shanghai suffered a devastating lockdown in spring in which people struggled to secure groceries and medicines and were forcefully taken into centralized quarantine.
North Korea's leader has taken his daughter to a meeting with missile scientists in her second public appearance, in which state media called her Kim Jong-un's most beloved child, deepening outside debate over whether she is being primed as a successor.
The daughter, believed to be Kim's second child named Jue and about 9 to 10 years old, was first unveiled to the outside world last weekend in state media photos showing her observing the North's intercontinental ballistic missile launch the previous day with her parents and other older officials. On Sunday, the North state media mentioned her for the second time, saying she and Kim took group photos with scientists, technicians, officials, and other workers involved in what it called the test launch of its Hwasong-17 ICBM. KCNA described her as Kim's most beloved or precious child, a more honorific title than her previous description of Kim's beloved child on its November 19th dispatch. It also released a slew of photos showing the daughter in a long black coat with a black fur collar holding her father's arm. One photo showed the two of them standing in the middle of a line of uniformed soldiers before a massive missile atop a launch track. Others showed Kim's daughter clapping her hands or talking to her father as people cheered in the background. Taken after her mother, Ri Sol-ju, who wasn't visible in any of the photos on Sunday, she had a more mature appearance than in her unveiling a week ago. South Korean media previously speculated Kim has 3 children born in 2010, 2013 and 2017, and that the first child is a son while the third one is a daughter.
Now let's take a look at our regular feature on sports. Canada won its first Davis Cup title on Sunday, beating Australia behind victories from Denis Shapovalov and Felix Auger-Aliassime. Canada won the Davis Cup for the first time by beating Australia in the final in Malaga. In the opening singles rubber, Denis Shapovalov made up for his defeat in the semifinals with a 6-2 and 6-4 win over Thanasi Kokkinakis. His Canada teammate Felix Auger-Aliassime, the world number 6, then beat Alex de Minaur 6-3 and 6-4 to give his country an unassailable 2-0 lead.
It's cool to be in this position now, and it's kind of a full circle. We've got Vasek, who's been part of Davis Cup for many years, won many matches. I remember as a kid watching him play, won a lot of clutch matches, and then to have all the rest of young guys coming up and playing well. So it's a special team. Hopefully, we're able to bring this very far, this generation.
Canada were appearing in only their second Davis Cup final. Their first in 2019 brought defeat by Rafael Nadal Spain, but they got their hands on the World Cup of Tennis on Sunday, 109 years after they first played the tournament, at the expense of 28-time champions Australia. Shapovalov, ranked 18th in the world, raced into a 4-0 lead against Kokkinakis before the Australian got a game on the board.
With Felix and Vasek yesterday, it was such a tough team to go against. Berrettini, Fognini, they've had so much success, and the way these guys played, it was amazing to watch, and they left it all out there, and there's just too many great moments. I think the whole team on the side, Frankie, everyone just putting their heart on the line day in and day out. It was really special.
But after wrapping up the first set comfortably, Shapovalov broke early in the second to put his country on course for a historic win. Ogra Alesima faced a tougher challenge in the world number 24, de Minaur, and was forced to fend off 3 early breakpoints in their singles rubber. He finally got a break himself in the 8th game, and after sealing the first set with an ace, he defended the further breakpoints after going on to clinch the title for Canada. Argentina and Mexico fans lit up the World Cup on Saturday with their vast and vociferous followings, creating a thunderous atmosphere in and around Qatar's Lusail Stadium for the latest chapter in one of Latin America's biggest football rivalries. Thousands of flag-draped supporters of both sides have made the long journey to Qatar and been a lively presence at the Middle East's first World Cup, organizing street parties and teaching Spanish-language chants to Arab fans eager to join in. At the game, Argentina continued their hegemony, with Lionel Messi scoring the first goal in a 2-0 win that was the fourth victory over the Mexicans in the tournament's history. "We are the best team in the world. We are going to become champions." Today, Messi proved that he is the best player in the world. He took all the equipment forward. It's the best thing we have in Argentina. Messi, champion.
Goals where we cannot save them. Very good goals. We gotta recognize it, but we're not out of the tournament yet. Let's keep going. We're still in.
The result ignited Argentina's fortune after a disastrous opening defeat by Saudi Arabia, while it left Mexico bottom of Group C with 1 game left. The rival fans shook the new, nearly 90,000 capacity Lusail Stadium like never before from long before kickoff. Chanting songs at each other, the Mexicans donned Aztec Warrior and Lucha Libre wrestling outfits, while the Argentines wore blue and white number 10 shirts for Messi and the late hero Diego Maradona. Argentina are nemesis for Mexico, having also beaten them in all 3 previous World Cup encounters, stretching back to a 6-3 win at the inaugural 1930 competition, before last 16 victories in 2006 and 2010. Here's the weather forecast of all major cities. Well, that's all for today, and thank you for staying with us. We'll see you tomorrow with more news and updates. Have a nice evening. Goodbye.